Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Hello, good evening, and welcome to another Reef Talk live stream. This is going to be a little bit different this week because we have a bit of a scandal in the reefing hobby that I want to tell you all about. So grab yourself a drink and strap yourself in, and I will tell you all about it. First thing I wanted to say, and the comments disappeared because it was posted a few hours ago. The first comment I saw on here said old news, and this is decidedly not old news. And in fact, if anything, this video is arguably a little premature, and I'll tell you why later. But one of the big things with this isn't really known about. People aren't really talking about this in the UK. So anyway, let's see who's coming. Oh, there it is. No, the comment is here. Old news. Dan and Betty, I beg to differ. This is not old news. We have several people in the house. Little Bo Peep, Techers Reef. I love that there's a little subculture of biker viewers as well. Colin Garvey, Stuart Cooper, who's on time this week. Good to see. JC's Reef, Tom Brook, Chap Him Wong, HCB Chemistry with a little bit of cursing as per usual. Puscheck, how you doing? Andy, the opinionated reefer. HCB is in California. Hamza Hamid is in. Telegram is in, of course. Reef Cube Dan, sponsored by Ralph Lauren, says Tom Brook. Tom, did I buy a torch card off you? Is that you? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Trayan Boala, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Smoke and Kippers. Oh, you've used Vibrant. Is in the house as well. Chris Casolo, UKM120, Louis, I'm going to pronounce that giggity, sorry. GN Zake, JO, Brymac, DA. Ah, wow, it's just too many for you to catch up. Normally there's 3 or 4 people watching at this stage. This is going to be a bit of a crazy live stream, then I'm not going to be able to keep up with all of the comments as I usually am. We've already got 134 people watching. Normally a bit under 100 at this stage. So let's start then by telling you what this is all about. So, oh, actually, no, do you know what? A couple of orders of business first. So I've turned super chats off for this video. And instead, if you feel like giving a super chat or donating money, I've put a link in the description to a charity that gives money to families displaced by the war in Ukraine. So if you want to give a super chat, just say a shout out and donate money to that link. It's called shelterbox.org or something. Secondly, so I am not a scientist. There's a lot of science involved in this and a lot of things that I don't really understand. I don't understand the science behind it all. So that's my first disclaimer. And also I have no knowledge of the American legal system. And there are potentially some legal ramifications being spoken of. I don't know about anything involving that. Also, I have no conflicts of interest. As will become very apparent, I am not sponsored by Vibrant. I've never even used the stuff. And I'm not sponsored by or have no affiliation with any other company who is in competition with Vibrant. So I've got no skin in the game. I don't care if they sell 1 bottle or 1 million bottles. It's not of interest to me. And the reason I'm making this video is to raise awareness. So Dan and Betty said this is old news. I think more people need to know about it. And if you're not on Reef to Reef, you won't know about it. And yeah, so as I say, I've never used this product before. I've never used Vibrant. It's not my kind of product, and it's not the way I like to deal with issues. And actually, when I talk about raising awareness, what I mean is raising awareness of allegations that have been made against the company who make Vibrant. And it's important to stress their allegations at this stage for legal reasons, I suspect. So what's the fuss about then? Well, the background is actually, do you know what? Let's start by telling you what Vibrant actually is. And in order to do so, I'm going to pull up their very own website. So I'm reading from the horse's mouth. Vibrant describes itself as a revolutionary new liquid aquarium cleaner. You can say goodbye to algae, cloudy water, and that grungy, dirty aquarium, and say hello to that sparkling, crystal clear, algae-free, Vibrant aquarium you always wanted. So that's what they describe it as. And I'm also going to read out their disclaimer because this made me laugh because it's not a disclaimer, it's a further boast. So they say, Vibrant can be very deceiving. It can make your aquarium look so clean, you will think you can skip regular routine aquarium maintenance or filter changes. And then they go on to say, but they recommend you don't do so. So that's their disclaimer, which is obviously a bit of a, well, it's a both, isn't it? But anyway, that is what Vibrant is. Effectively, it's a product that you can add, a liquid that you can add to your aquarium to kill off algae. Okay. And that's what people use it for. Bubble algae, hair algae, all those sorts of things. And some people just use it like as a daily dose maintenance to make their tank look clean. So that's what it is. Let's show you what the ingredients are then, because this is the main issue. So again, this is the manufacturer's website. This is their own website. This is what they say. And this is today. This is live. This is not a screenshot from earlier. It says Vibrant ingredients, 95% cultured bacteria blend. Ooh, bacteria. Bacteria is good, isn't it? That's what we're all told. Remember that. 1% amino acids, aspartic acid. Amino acids are good. Sounds great. 0.5% vinegar. Well, insignificant. It's a tiny amount. Who cares? And 3.5% RODI water. So that is what they say it's made of. Basically, almost exclusively bacteria is what they're saying it's consisted of. So that is the background. That's what it does, and it's what it's made of. So what's the fuss about then? Well, there is a thread on Reef to Reef, which I think I've already linked in the description. So you can go and check that out and read all about it. It's a long thread and there's a lot of science stuff in there that you might not understand, but you will get the gist. There's a thread on Reef to Reef whereby someone has done what I would describe as a scientific study. And you might say it's a series of experiments, but whatever it is, someone's looked into this to find out what is in Vibrant. And they've also looked to see, to compare it to another product by a company called API, who you no doubt will have heard of, especially if you're in the freshwater world, called Algae Fix. And the conclusions are, and these are not my conclusions, I want to stress very clearly, they're the conclusions of this article. And this is my understanding of what it says. It's a little bit sciencey, but I've read it in detail and I'm pretty sure I'm getting it right. The conclusions are there is no bacteria in it. And if I'm reading it correctly, also no vinegar and no aspartic acid. So basically everything that they say is in it, according to this article on Reef to Reef, is not in it. Second conclusion is it contains an algicide, or it contains algicides called polyxetonium chloride and busan 77. Busan 77 has a listed function on a website that I found via Reef to Reef as a molluscicide. And that's worth bearing in mind because clams are mollusks, which of course some of us keep in our tanks. And the third conclusion, so three conclusions then. One, it's got no bacteria in it and basically nothing that, more or less, I'm paraphrasing slightly, but more or less nothing that was listed on the ingredients. Number two, it contains algicides, not just bacteria, algicides called polyxetonium chloride and busan 77. And number three, it is essentially the same as the freshwater product Algae Fix by API. So that's basically the background. That's what this little study, these experiments showed. And you might be thinking, well, so this is a product that sells itself as killing algae, and it's got an algicide in it that kills algae. What's the big whoop? Does that really matter? Yes, it does. It really matters. And there are a number of reasons why. I've kind of listed 5 reasons that I think are the main things that this matters. Firstly, it says that it's bacteria, but actually it's not. It's an algicide. And that means that when you're buying it, you can't weigh up the risk that you're taking to your tank. If you're deciding whether or not you want to put something in your tank, you want to know what's in it. This tells you something else. It doesn't tell you correctly what's in it. All photosynthetic corals as well contain symbiotic algae. So algae is within the flesh of corals. It's how they get their food from light photosynthesis. So if you're dosing too much of this or using it wrong, or even if you're using it right, it's an algicide that's meant to kill algae. What's to say it's going to kill the nasty algae and leave the good algae? And that's all about, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But the point is, you need to be able to assess the risk, and you can't if you don't know what's in it. Number 2 then, so that's the first issue I think with this. Number 2, it is the same stuff as more or less, from what this study has said. It's the same stuff as API algae fix, but it's a lot more expensive. So in the UK, an 8-ounce bottle of API algae fix is £9. The same size bottle of Vibrant is £35. And as far as this study has shown, it is exactly the same stuff. So that is profiteering to my mind, which I think is not cool. However, at this point, I would say I think that's probably the smallest issue on the list, because it happens all the time. And in fact, I've recently bought Seachem Calquasser. And if you look on the ingredients, it says calcium hydroxide. So this is calcium hydroxide. It cost me £20 for this. And you can get the exact same stuff, calcium hydroxide, for £5. It happens all over the place. There are loads of things that are sold from 2 different brands, and one brand gets the marketing right, one brand doesn't. So that brand can charge a bit more money. So I don't really have a massive problem with that. Although it does bug me that it's a bit of profiteering and it feels like you're being ripped off. Again, this is all on the basis that this study is correct. Number 3 then, and this is where we get into kind of the main issues. So the company behind this, they're called Underwater Creatures, I think, UWC. They appear to be lying about what's in the product. Now, I say appear to be for 2 reasons. One, because it's this study that's been released that's making these allegations that they haven't responded to yet, as far as I can tell. And 2, because I think I'm right in saying, and I've found from themselves, that they've teamed up with a bunch of scientists to make this product. So I think that UWC doesn't actually make it, they effectively outsource it. So it might be that actually they don't know what's in it. They've been told by a bunch of scientists, maybe they've been misled, maybe they didn't understand, I don't know. But whatever way you slice it, it feels like we're being lied to, or at least misled as to what's in this product. Now, actually, with that as well, that again is not cool. And if it says on the label that it contains X, Y, and Z, and actually none of that is in the bottle, that's not okay. However, what I would say with that is that not many people will actually read the label. So when 95% of people, I reckon, who go into a shop and look at this product, are not going to read the label and think, right, this is what I want to see. This is what's in it. Okay, that's all right. I'll buy it. So the label won't necessarily, the ingredients part of the label won't necessarily influence most people's decision. Some, absolutely it will, but it won't influence most people's decision. However, the people who don't read it will probably be influenced by what other people have said. And by other people, I mean online reviews, YouTube videos, these sorts of things. And the people making those reviews and the people making those videos will have looked at the label. They will have seen what the ingredients are, and they will be basing their opinions on what the label says. So then, as a result, they are then giving misinformation, not deliberately, but they are giving misinformation. So although actually, if you're reading the label, you're not necessarily going to be making your decision on that. You will based on what other people have said. And I would say at this point, Bulk Reef Supply appear to have been dragged into this a little bit on Reef to Reef. And there's been a bit of criticism of them because they've got quite behind this product in the past and they've recommended it in all sorts of ways. I think, and I'm a bit of a BRS fanboy, so you can take that with a pinch of salt if you like. But I think BRS are being hard done by here, because there's no indication that they knew what is being alleged. And if the product works and does what it says it's going to do, why is it their fault suddenly? So I do feel a little bit bad for them being dragged in. But anyway, that's not really the point. The 4th issue then, and why this is a problem, is because they have said it is not an algicide. And I will now bring up a screen. You might not be able to read this, but I'll read it out to you. So this is a thread from the company UWC behind, what's it called, Vibrant. And they say this is the whole thing, the whole thread, when they describe how it works, what it is, all these sorts of things. And this is the most interesting part. The beautiful thing is, and this is how does it work? The beautiful thing is, this is not some crazy algicide that just leaves a bomb of nutrients in your tank as the algae dye, leading you on a downward spiral after blah, blah, blah. So they have said, expressly stated, that it is not an algicide. And actually, I saw another thread where they'd said another time, a separate occasion. This dates back to 2016, I believe, by the way. But I saw another thread also from 2016. Yes, 27th of October 2016. I saw another thread from 2016 where they'd said the same thing. This is not an algicide. So it's not just that they haven't been, ostensibly haven't been honest about what's in the product and labeled the bottle correctly. They've actually outwardly said it is not an algicide, whereas this study seems to suggest it is. And that is extremely naughty. Now, I said at the start, I have no knowledge of the American legal system. From what I understand and from what I've read on Reef to Reef, there's a bit of talk about, in America, basically, if you mislabel a product like this that contains things like an algicide, it's a big deal. It's extremely naughty, and it's frowned upon, to say the least. It's all sorts of regulations that say it's verboten and you shouldn't do it. However, I don't know about any of that because I am not an American lawyer. So they've expressly said it's an algicide, actually. And if you're one of those people, the 5% who do read the labels, and you read it saying it was a bacteria, well, then you have been misled. And the final thing, the fifth issue that I have with this, and for this, I'm going to bring up a couple of pictures that I want to show you. And these are going to be fairly small, so it's a little bit difficult to read, but I'll read out to you what it says. And this is going to be a picture of the bottle of API algae fix, which is effectively what this study says Vibrant is the same as, okay? They're almost identical, is my understanding. This bottle says, and this is the back of the bottle, it says under the harmful section, the caution section, it says, harmful if swallowed or absorbed through skin, avoid contact with eyes, hair, or clothing, and contains a chemical known to the state of California to cause cancer. Okay, so they are the warnings on the back of a bottle of API algae fix. And now actually, I'm just going to double check because this is quite a serious point. And I checked beforehand, but I'm just going to double check the bottle of algae. Yeah, so this is the bottle of Vibrant, and this is a terrible way of doing it, by the way. But that's it. The only warning there is Vibrant is for aquarium use only. Keep away from children and pets. And I'm going to hold that there so you can see. And this was a photo that was posted on Ultimate Reef, Reef to Reef, sorry, that was from a bottle that the guy says was bought in 2019. So a few years old. But either way, that warning, and I don't know if it's changed, maybe the warning's on there now, but the only warning on the bottle of Vibrant says keep it away from pets and children. The warning on the bottle of algae fix that supposedly is the same stuff says it might cause cancer, don't get it on your skin, all these sorts of issues. Now, they might be over the top and they might be very cautious, overly cautious, but nonetheless, those warnings are there and they are missing from the Vibrant bottle. So that is effectively, those are the 5 issues that I think are why this is serious and why this is a big deal. 1, they don't tell you what's in the bottle, so you can't accept the risk of whatever you're putting in. 2, it is ridiculously expensive compared to a bottle that effectively looks like it's the same thing. 3, they appear to be lying about what's in it, or at the very least misleading you. 4, they have expressly stated it is not an algicide when it appears to be an algicide. And number 5, all of these warnings that are on the bottle of API algae fix do not appear on the bottle of Vibrant. So I think they are pretty big deals personally. Now, I am always interested in balance on this channel. I'm going to take a quick sip of my drink. I'm always interested in balance on this channel. So if I review a product, I will tell you the good and bad things. If something's going wrong in my tank, I'll tell you the ways of fixing it and the ways I think are, and the pros and cons of doing that. So this is not just a video slagging off Vibrant and the owners of Vibrant. Let's present the points in mitigation. Now, to be honest, there aren't many. However, I think the key things are that it's not like this is a brand new product. Okay, so if this was a brand new product that had just come out, and this guy, Tarincio, I think he's called on Reef to Reef, had released this study, found out what it was, and told everybody you need to stop using this before your corals die and your fish die and all this sort of stuff, that would be a big deal. But it's not the case. This product has been around for years, despite the website saying it's a new product. Guess they need to update it. It's been around for years, and plenty of people have used it with success. The fact that, and this is not just limited to a handful of people, loads and loads of people. You can go online, you will find endless recommendations to use it. People say my tank looks fantastic. It killed bubble algae. It killed bryopsis, whatever it does. So, and BRS got behind it as well and gave glowing reviews. And some people don't think too highly of BRS, but I think most of us do. And if BRS is getting behind something, they've normally tested it and there's normally a good reason, even if you're cynical and think that they're really just trying to sell stuff. So it's been around for a long time and plenty of people have had success with it. That being said, I do, from what I understand and from a little bit of research, some people have had issues with corals dying and clams dying in particular after they've used it. Although nobody can really prove, it's not like you've put a coral in a controlled environment, put some algae fix it, vibrant in it and it's killed it. So you never quite know what might have killed your corals, but there are plenty of people who think they might have had issues with it. But that is massively outweighed by the people who, and this is a straw poll of just a bit of research, it seems to be massively outweighed by the people who have had success with it. So it's not like if you pour this in your tank, everything's going to die immediately. Plenty of people have used it and have used it well. Number two, the product that I'm comparing it to, and let me get up another photo so I can show you, or not that I'm comparing it to, in fact, the product that it is being compared to on this article, API Algae Fix. Whilst I've said that this, what was it, Buson 77 or whatever it was, as a molluscicide, i.e. it kills mollusks like clams, scallops and all those sorts of things. Whilst I've said that, the bottle of Algae Fix, and this is Algae Fix Marine, so I'm not 100% sure if it's the same one, but this says, will not harm marine fish, corals, or other invertebrates. And my understanding, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but my understanding is that regardless of whether you use the marine stuff or the freshwater stuff, I believe that API say API Algae Fix is safe for marine aquariums. And that would make sense because it would back up the fact that plenty of other people have had success with Vibrant. So in mitigation, then we've got that it's been used successfully for years by numerous people, endless people. API Algae Fix, that it appears to be the same as, say that their product, and this is completely independent of this Vibrant scandal, they say that their product isn't harmful to marine life. And finally, the third thing I want to say in mitigation, and this is why I said at the very start of the video that this is not old news, and if anything, this video is premature, is because this came out 2.5 weeks ago. In that time, there has been a very brief statement after, I think, something like a week or something like that, from the creators of Vibrant, and they just said, "Look, we've seen the allegations. I think they said they're sending it off to the lab to do their own tests. They'll get back to us as soon as they can." I think they were hoping to have heard back by the end of this week. I don't think I haven't seen any response from them, so maybe we'll hear next week. But this is why I say this video is not old news, because you've only had one side of the story. And until the company has had a chance to defend itself and explain what's happened, you can't draw any real conclusions, is my opinion anyway. So I'm not going to crucify and hang the makers of Vibrant over this. Although I would say that my conclusion at this point is on reserve judgment for now, until I've heard from the maker in response to all of this. But it would have to be a damn good response and a damn good explanation. Second conclusion, if this is all true, and again, reserving judgment, I can't really see a reason why you would continue to buy Vibrant over API Algae Fix, given that it's a quarter of the price and apparently is the same thing. Number three is that this seems to be a pretty egregious breach of trust. If all of these allegations are true, and at this stage it is still an if the allegations are true, that is a pretty bad thing that has happened. It might not be the owners of Vibrant who are to blame. It might be that they were misled. It might be that they weren't misled, and that actually the scientists didn't realize what was going on. I don't know. I've got no idea. But if it is true, it's a pretty egregious breach of trust, is my opinion. And the final thing I would say is, again, I'm reserving judgment. But ultimately, if you choose to buy Vibrant now, do so knowing that this is an algicide, according to this study, not a bottle of bacteria. And the big thing with that is we are always taught, and I said at the start, right, it's 95% bacteria. We are told as hobbyists, basically you can chuck in as much bacteria to your tank as you like because it's a natural thing, it's good, and all bacteria is, within reason. Bacteria are a good thing, they're naturally occurring, they're natural remedies. So if you've got a bottle that says it's bacteria, you instantly think, oh, great, it's all organic and healthy and there's nothing that could be wrong with it. Whereas if it said it was an algicide, and when I hear algicide, again, I'm not a scientist. If I hear algicide, I think, oh, is that like a pesticide? And if that's the case, I don't want to put that in my tank. So those are my thoughts. Basically, that's my summary of the situation going on. I really want to hear from the company behind this product to see what they say. There was a BRS video put out, I think about a week ago, but then got taken down. And I think that was because, this is what I've heard via Instagram. I think it was Telegram. Jim, if you're still in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. But I think they took it down because there were some inaccuracies in it and they wanted to make sure they were getting it right. So I suspect that the makers of Vibrant have been in touch with BRS and that we will hear from them soon. I really want to hear from BRS on this because they don't pull any punches and they will be frank with us about it. And I really want to hear from the makers of Vibrant to see what they have to say, because there are some really serious allegations here and we need them to come out and tell us what the score is. And the last thing I'll say before I try to catch up with the chat, and we've got many more comments than I normally have. The last thing I'll say is that although this is just one scientific study, Randy Holmes Farley has commented on the thread on Reef to Reef and has said that, and I'm paraphrasing him here, but he's effectively said it looks solid. He doesn't have any concerns about the veracity of the experiments here. So that's not really, it's not peer review as such, but it's someone saying, hey, look, I know what I'm talking about. And Randy Holmes Farley, if you don't know who he is, he's a reef chemist. He's an extremely bright guy. And I would describe him as an expert in this area for sure. He's looked at all of this and said, yep, that looks pretty spot on. And if he is persuaded, then I'm probably persuaded as well. So with that being done then, I'm going to scroll back and try to go through the comments and see what you guys have got to say. Because what I really want to know, I want to hear from people who've used Vibrant, whether you've had success or not. Tell us. Say in the comment section below, I've used it. I've been using it for 2 years. My tank looks amazing. I've never had any problems with it. Equally, if you have had problems with it, say that it's killed your corals or whatever you think it's done. Tell us your experiences with it. I would expect, I don't know, because the reviews online are overwhelmingly positive, I would expect most people to be saying, I've used it for years, it's fine. But this kind of video is likely to attract people who have been, I'm trying to think of a better word to say, who are bitter about it, who have had bad experience with it and want to share it with other people. I have no skin in the game. So if you've had a good or bad experience, let us know. We want to know about it. Okay, so let's catch up then. Still got several people, many people saying hello. And regulars commenting on the new plant in the background. Yes, the last one was dead. But let's get stuck into some proper stuff. So Jamie Q has read through the threads on Reef to Reef, but would still use it again if you had bubble algae. No issues with corals. So there you go. Bubble algae is a bit of a pain to shift. And Jamie Q at least would use it again, which is good to hear. The thing about the Reef to Reef threads, by the way, there are two of them. One is the main one, which shows these studies and shows the experiments done. And there were many of these experiments. It wasn't just some guy looking at it under a light or whatever. It looked to me anyway to be a thorough experiment. There was that thread. And there was also a thread from Randy Holmes Farley saying basically, here's the drawing attention to the thread. Here it is. You need to be careful if you want to choose to use this stuff. They're 35 pages long each. I read almost all of the first one, the main one, and then a couple of bits of the second one where Randy Holmes Farley highlighted it. But there's all you really need to read are the pages, the comments and the experiments by this guy, Taricha, whatever his name is, and the response from UWC. Everybody else is just kind of commentary and giving their opinions, which is effectively what I'm doing here. So here we go. What are we catching up? Here we go. Another one. He was used Vibrant. I used Vibrant because Marketing Machine BRS said it was good. Tim Chump. Okay. And this is to stress, just because this study has shown that it appears to be an algicide and it appears to be the same as API algae fix, doesn't necessarily mean it's suddenly bad. However, I get that concern. And if I was considering using this product before, which I wasn't, but if I was, I wouldn't personally use it now, in spite of people having success with it. And one thing with this is, because it's made to kill algae, beginners get algae probably as much, if not more, than more experienced reefers. And if you're new to the hobby, you're probably more tempted to put more in and be less risk averse with it. So I would expect beginners to have more problems than experienced reefers. That being said, you could balance it against the fact that beginner reefers probably don't have so many corals. But anyway, Leon El Rayo, Vibrant crashed my 64-litre cube 1 month ago. Let's see. And again, this is the kind of comment I'm talking about, where people have said it's caused problems. And I've no doubt that this person, Leon, that you're a stand-up guy, you're telling the truth. I'm not casting shade. I'm not besmirching your good name. But when you read a comment like that, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, Reef to Reef, whatever, you think you don't have enough information to make a judgment. You think it crashed my tank. Well, were you doing other things at the same time? Did you have an alk spike, or were there other things going on? How much were you using? Were you misusing it? And what does crashed mean? Does it mean that it killed all of your corals, or does it just mean it killed a couple of your corals, or what? So I'm not dismissing that, and I'm not standing up for Vibrant. I just want, like I say, I'm all about balance. So let's keep going and see what else we've got. GN Zake also used Vibrant before once, but no longer feel comfortable using it. And that is the main issue in my eyes, is people don't feel comfortable using it. One, because they will feel misled, but two, because suddenly know if this is true, that this is an algicide. And whenever I see, again, not a scientist, don't know really what an algicide is, apart from when you're talking about things like what was it called? Polyxetonium chloride, Buson 77, and the list of things that were in this were basically looking like nasty chemicals. To an idiot like me who knows nothing about the science behind this, I think polyxetonium chloride, Buson 77, algicide, molluscicide. No, I'm not interested in that. It sounds like the sort of thing you do not want to put in your tank. So that is the main issue. Practical Reefer. I tried Vibrant, got cyano, so stopped. Glass was spotless while using it, though, no other issues. And that's the thing. And it's very attractive to people if it's making your glass spotless, making your tank spotless, etc. Another user, Kielstra, Sjurd Kielstra. Shelstra, possibly. Mispronounced your name, my apologies. Really curious. I used it a year ago. It's bubble algae and worked like a charm. And I bet we'll have many, many more people talking about this as a good thing, with the exception of Beard Meets Reef, who says, I got cyano bad after using Vibrant. What else have we got? Lots of people saying hello. And I'd say hello to a couple of you guys, but there's so many comments here that I'm not going to get through, and I'd rather kind of crack on with the real stuff. Although if someone calls me a G, then yeah, you're getting that posted up. Drink some water, mate. Baby boy says, I will take a quick sip. Lee Lisi says, supposedly is killing off all nitrates, and when you lose all your nitrates, you'll get cyano, and it can even bleach SPS corals. It's one thing to run a lower nutrient system, another to wipe it out. I believe, and I say I never used this, but I did do a fair bit of research before this video. I believe that it advises against using it in a low nutrient system or a lower dose. I forget. but I think they weren't keen on that. And that would make sense if they thought it contains things like vinegar, because that is a carbon source. So it would potentially strip out your nutrients. So I think they advised against that. Chris Allen, Lancashire Reef, says, tried it okay. Tried it first time, worked. Second time, did nothing. Here we go. Canadian Reef Master. And if he's a Reef Master, obviously he knows what he's talking about. Used Vibrant for over a year on my 10 gallon, so a small tank, to manage nitrate and phosphate. Interesting. Will be interesting to see this. However, I always attribute it to the vinegar and bacteria, which I assume it is. Exactly. And that's another reason why people would buy it, because you might think, oh, if it's got vinegar, it's effectively the bonus of reducing my nitrates because it's carbon dosing. And a lot of carbon dosing is a known thing in the hobby. We all know about it. Well, it's widely reported and there's lots of information out there. So there you go. It feels like a good thing, a good benefit. Manon Tupin says, OMG, OMG indeed. And we've got other people commenting on the price, of course. So it's a lot more expensive. And like I say, I think that's the least serious issue here, but it does feel a bit like profiteering if this is true. And I'm not a big fan of profiteering, to be honest. So anyway, false advertising if those were real experiments. Indeed. And this is the whole thing is, I really want to see what UWC have to say about this. They've conducted their own experiments. I'm not 100% sure I'd trust them, given what's gone off in the past. But I think they would. I want to see what they've got to say, and I would be surprised if they were dishonest about it when they found this out. And my initial assessment, really hard to say because they've been very quiet, but my initial assessment is that this probably looks like they didn't know. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what comes of it. I used it over a year ago to get rid of bubble algae. Again, bubble algae. I've got bubble algae in my frag tank at the moment, by the way. I'm not going to be using Vibrant to get rid of it, but I might get one of them little crabs, the emerald crabs. Worked fine, but took 3 months, but also reduced feeding and several other things. So not sure what it sorted. And that's the thing. When you address a problem, you often change a number of things. And so you don't necessarily know what caused or you can't identify cause and effect. So this is the guy who earlier said, crashed my tank. Was it that? Was it something else? Was it an underlying issue? Has your salinity dropped? Had you been doing something for 6 months that had caused the problems? Who knows? And interesting to see Martin saying that I don't know what happened there. Watty25. I think Seachem Pristine needs testing too. Ooh. I used it, and every time I used it, my tank crashed shortly after. It can't be a coincidence now that I've thrown it away and have no issues. It could be a coincidence. It very could easily be a coincidence, in fact. But I take the point. And if that is the case and you were using it and you're having problems and you stop using it, it's not unreasonable to assume that there might be a link. There also, I mentioned, and I don't have the link for the thread, unfortunately, in front of me, but there was a guy who said that he used it and he lost something like 50 clams. Said $10,000 worth of clams that he lost because of this. I presume he wasn't continually buying clams and then they were dying and replacing them, because if that's the case, I'd question the logic behind that when you're losing clams and you still keep buying them. I presume what was actually happening was he had a big collection of clams. He used Vibrant, and then he says that's what caused them all to die. But he did say in his thread, I don't know if that's what caused it, but all of this makes me wonder. And if you've had corals that have died and bleached as a result of or after using Vibrant, I suspect you might think, the timing was pretty much spot on. Is that a coincidence? UKM120 used it a while back, did bugger all that I could see to the algae in my tank. Okay, so there you go. This is another thing. There are plenty of people who've had success with it. There are also plenty of people who've used it and had nothing. It hasn't actually done anything. So there we go. And Brymac is poking fun at BRS, saying BRS investigates algae fix coming up. It's worth noting another YouTuber did tests on Vibrant and found it to contain plant stenols and algicide too. Interesting. I didn't know that. So this is more people. Bo Peep, who was the YouTuber who did that? Let me know, and I'll look up the video and I'll find it. And if you know who it was, I'll post a link in the description after this video so you can go and check it out. There was another guy, one of the guys on the thread for Reef to Reef. And again, this is probably halfway through, I don't know. There were a lot of posts. Another guy was saying that he'd been saying this before for years. He approached Vibrant and they said, or the makers of Vibrant, they told him, no, you're talking nonsense. And he was convinced. And now he feels vilified. No, he feels vindicated because he knows he was right. So someone else has said the same thing. It's not just one study. Other people have had suspicions from the sounds of it. Canadian Reef Master. I had a theory that the bacteria produced a chemical that killed algae, just as bacteria produce penicillin. Who knows? Maybe that's what the makers thought. Maybe that's what the scientists thought. I don't know. But if the makers, that makes sense, because there was some talk about the fact that there's no algae in there and no bacteria in the bottle on this study and why that is. And it gets really sciencey and really too complicated for my small brain. But there were theories about that it could be that they put a bacteria in to start with and they're no longer there for X, Y, and Z reasons. Although it did go on to say, we've explored that and we think it's unlikely. So, but I don't know. Archon says, aquarium companies, specifically saltwater companies, like to overcharge their product. Hashtag reef tax. Yeah, I think a lot of things are expensive, and there does seem to be reef tax on some things, such as my Seachem calcwasser, which is 4 times the price of normal calcium hydroxide. But I'm happy to pay that, actually. And I actually think that most products aren't a rip-off. There are some products that are a bit of a rip-off, but most, as far as I can see, they cost X money to make. They cost X. They have a profit margin. The shops have a profit margin. All of this sort of stuff. And most products aren't a rip-off. I think some things might be expensive, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a rip-off. Good comment from Lee Lisi. This is why I stopped using chemicals altogether. You just never know. Reef tanks are so finicky as it is. I feel bad for anyone who lost their tanks to this crap. Shame. So yeah, completely agree. And if you've lost corals or lost your tank as a result of using this stuff, then my heart goes out to you. It's horrible. It's not fun when things go bad. But the reason I posted this comment is the first thing you say, this is why I stopped using chemicals altogether. And I said at the start, I've never used this. It's not my cup of tea. I have used ChemiClean before, which is probably the closest thing to this. But as a general rule, I think you're better off, if any problem you've got in your tank, find the underlying issue, fix that, and then do something to prevent it coming back. With algae, find the underlying issue. Probably you've got too high phosphate. Maybe you've got too high nitrate as well. Also, maybe you haven't got enough corals, more corals uptake more nutrients and that sort of stuff. Maybe you're feeding too much. But also, so if you've got algae, get your nutrients under control and buy a fish or an invert that eats the stuff, because that will get rid of it more long term and it will keep coming back and the fish will keep eating it. So those are my ways of fixing issues, of trying to deal with the root cause and then putting a fish in to eat it to fix it, or something like an urchin with bacteria with algae. Tim Chump is throwing his bottle in the bin. Should we have like a burning party where we just all set fire to it and have like a bonfire? Colin Garvey is another former user of Vibrant. It was great, but I don't think I'll be using it again. No, I suspect not. And actually, just on the point of going back to, let's just have a quick sip of the drink. Going back to the point of the response from Underwater Creatures, I think they're called, the makers of Vibrant. They've put out kind of a holding response saying, look, I know this isn't what you want to hear, but we're going to go away and look into it. And I like that they've done that. I like that they have at least acknowledged it and put their hands up and say, we're checking it, we're taking it seriously. Of course, they're taking it seriously. But contrast this to the issue that we had recently with tropic marine salt, and there being clay found in, traces of clay found in the stuff that was coming from Turkey. Now, tropic marine got a bit of stick for that, especially on Reef to Reef from what I can see. And Lou Eckers, the guy who runs tropic marine in the States, got a lot of stick. Some unfairly, I think it's probably fair to say. But compare and contrast the response from tropic marine and the response from UWC, from Vibrant. We've only heard, as far as I can see, and Tell me if I'm wrong, fact check all of this. If I'm saying something that's wrong, tell me, by the way, because this is not supposed to be, I'm telling you, you must listen to me. If I'm saying something wrong, tell me. But I don't think there's been any response from Vibrant beyond this statement to say we're looking into it, we'll get back to you. Whereas Tropic Marine, they were all over it. They stopped production. They shut down this plant that they'd opened. God knows how much money they'd spent on it. Must have cost them a fortune. Lou Eckes was on the thread, commenting, replying to people's concerns, all this sort of stuff, inviting people who've had problems to message him personally and discuss it. Whereas Vibrant, I mean, you might say the silence is deafening. Now, obviously, they want to look into it. That's probably a more difficult issue to look into than this, because they have to go away and do all their scientific experiments. But I compare and contrast that, and I've got a lot of time for Tropic Marine anyway. Again, no financial affiliation with them whatsoever, not sponsored by them or anything. I just like them as a company, so I'm biased towards them, and I have no feelings towards Vibrant, so it's easier for me to be a little bit critical. But I think so far, and again, it's only 2.5 weeks in, but so far the response from Vibrant has been less than I would have liked to see. I would have liked to see them be a bit more active and a bit more involved, even if that meant they had to put their flak jacket on and take a bit of stick. There we go. So Jesus Carantha says that's false advertising and is illegal in the US. Now, again, I know nothing of the legal system in America, but there was a lot of talk on this thread of how it is a serious issue if you're mislabeling products like this. And particularly given the statement on the API bottle of Algae Fix that says this contains a product that is known in the state of California to cause cancer. I mean, I can see why it's illegal if that's the case. With that, though, I do think that it's the sort of thing that if it was a real issue, then no one's going to sell that stuff. So I think that's very, very cautious. But nonetheless, the point is, this guy says it's illegal. I don't know, but it sounds like it is quite a serious issue, especially if there's kind of this aggravated element of lying, which there may or may not be. And actually, even if they've not lied, let's say for the sake of argument, they were misled or they weren't told the full story by the people, the scientists who made this stuff. So they actually didn't know. Do I let them off the hook for that? I don't think I do, because if you're selling it, you need to be responsible for what's in it. So even if they haven't actually lied and they were misled, I don't think that's much better. I feel like they should still be held to account just as much as if they'd actually knew about it. Gienzake, he trusted BRS telling me it's bacteria and reading off the ingredients to me. And that feels like you're criticizing BRS a little bit. BRS do experiments and do look into things, and they did the test with salts and dosing liquids where they settle out everything and see what comes up. Basic experiments, I would say, but I would be surprised if they knew exactly what was going on here and what was in it. So I think it's a little bit harsh to criticize them, but I think it's right to hold them to a higher standard because of the resources they have and the power to do research, and because ultimately they sell it and they profit from it. So I think it's right to hold them to a higher standard, but I don't think I'd be surprised if they knew about it. And I'm a bit of a Ryan. What's the word? A Rhinophile, as in I really like Ryan from BRS in particular. He seems like a stand-up guy, and I will always jump to his defense unless he gives me a reason not to. We have a chemist in the house, HCB Chemistry, and you say, as a chemist, I do read the label. Indeed, and lots of people still will. But I understand most people don't even know what the chemicals mean either. Exactly, and actually, most people don't read labels. Even on things like food, you really should look at the food and the ash content. That's one of the most important things, but no one does because they don't know what they're looking for. So you need to bear in mind that people don't know what they're looking for and make it really easy. As a company, I mean. Practical Reef says, did they not claim it was a DIY blend perfected over years that they started dosing to customers' aquariums they maintained and then started producing it for mass market? I don't know. So I looked around their website a little bit, and there were all these things like the quite corny disclaimer that was a brag. It talked about scientists working, or they worked with a team of scientists to come up with it, but I don't know if they used it on aquariums they maintained. Although as I'm saying that That's ringing a bell. So maybe I saw that on the Reef to Reef thread. I don't know. But if that's the case, then maybe they knew. Yes, in fact, I think that's right. They did use it. They used to maintain customers' aquariums. I think you're right, mate. I don't know for sure, but I think you're right. That still doesn't necessarily mean they knew what was in it, but nonetheless. And here we go. Jesus Calantha. BRS probably had no idea. Indeed, and we'll see from them. They won't pull punches. If this is all true and it turns out that these scientific studies are correct, BRS will be as pissed off as anyone. I can tell you that much. Baby boy. Yeah, I definitely stopped using it after some of my coral invertebrates showed signs of hating this stuff. It made my tank look super clear, but everything just shrunk up until it went away. Interesting that it was inverts, because that was the first thing I thought. I thought, well, on the API algae fix, it says for the freshwater stuff, do not use with freshwater inverts like crabs and shrimp. So I thought, well, what's the difference between a freshwater invert and a saltwater invert? Surely it would have the same impact. But it appears, as far as I can make out, that API algae fix, and by extension, possibly therefore Vibrant, is safe with things like inverts and fish as well. They say it's safe with. So, but anyway, maybe you were dosing a lot of it. I don't know. Maybe you had particularly sensitive inverts. Who knows? And this is the thing with all of these stories. I'm posting them up because it's interesting to see, but you can take some of them with a pinch of salt because we don't know. As hobbyists, I don't know what's going on in my tank half the time. And so it's not like you can draw firm conclusions. It's all, what's the word? There's a type of evidence that's escaped my memory, but circumstantial evidence is the word I'm looking for. Simon Lockley Evans. I think BRS and the whole have done a lot to help the hobby. 100%. I say it all the time. I'm a massive BRS fan, and I think they do more, a lot more good than bad, almost exclusively good. What else have we got going on? Sounds like my LFS. Lol. I didn't know any better when I was starting out and paid $40 for a normally $15 refractometer. Exactly. And that's a really good point. So you can get refractometers, one that's $40, one that's $15, and actually they're exactly the same. People often say, I bet X product and Y product were made in the same factory, and it's clearly not the case. Often with things like LED lights and that sort of thing, people often say that, and it's more often than not true. But the reason people say it is because it does happen, and there will be some things like maybe these refractometers that are literally made in the same factory. One's put in a brown box, one's put in a blue box, and the blue box gets 50 quid price tag, the brown box gets a 10 quid price tag. And I'm okay with that for the most part. It's a little bit shady and a little bit sketchy, but at the end of the day, it happens all over the place, and I don't think it's dishonest as such. It's marketing, which is borderline dishonest at times, but I'm cool with that. Is basically what I'm saying. Agreed, they've started bringing it more mainstream. Daft Gauk was thinking of buying some few. There you go. And it's not that I'm not saying you shouldn't buy it. I'm really saying you need to know this stuff. And now you know what the allegations are. You can make an informed decision. That's what we need. We're not asking for anything else. We're asking to be able to make an informed decision. And there will be people who still use it because they've had success before, but now they know the potential risks and the potential downsides. GNZake. Ryan has a professional relationship with UWC and even told a Facebook video that Ryan deleted. He talked to the guys at UWC. Not sure what you're implying there. I don't think are you implying that Ryan knew more? I don't know. I suspect not. And here we go. Fur, Feather, and Claw feel sorry for BRS. First pushing Tropic Marine Salt, now Vibrant. Yeah, they've had a bit of a tough time. I wouldn't feel too sorry for them because they're probably making a few quid still. And they will come out of this squeaky clean, I suspect, because I don't think that they were in any way culpable. The Zoo. I was recommended to use Vibrant on a hair algae outbreak. Tuxedo urchin wiped out in a week. No chemicals or natural. My man, chemicals, no. Tuxedo urchins, yes. I love tuxedo urchins. They're a bit of a pain because they do pick up your corals. I've got one that's wearing some of my zoas at the moment as a hat, but it looks kind of cool. In fact, I've got two in my tank downstairs. He's wearing a bunch of zoas as well. So they are a bit annoying, but they're awesome little characters, and they are amazing at eating algae. If there is one thing you should have, one creature for eating algae in your tank, it should be an urchin. They won't touch things like bubble algae. Well, I've never seen that anyway. But they are very, very good at eating algae, although they do eat coralline algae sometimes. My one in this tank isn't, the one downstairs is. Dopamine Kata, they did respond and they said they were getting the product analysed. Yeah, exactly right. And that's what I've said. What's up with Tropic Marine Salt? I've just started using it. Don't worry, it's cool. It's fine. There's no issue. I did a live stream a couple of weeks ago. The stuff coming out of a factory in Turkey had a bit of clay in it. Don't think it caused any real problems. Bit of a storm in the teacup, but they've stopped producing the stuff in Turkey. Don't sweat it. If you want to know the story, go back and watch the first half hour of my live stream from a couple of weeks ago. Have you ever seen what happens to urchins when they drop vibrant in the tank? They get knocked out, fall off the rock, fall off the glass. It must be pretty harsh stuff. Second person in a row who said that. Interesting. Maybe it was too much. I don't know. Here we go. So this is how serious it is, according to some people. Jail time in the USA. No mislabeling. So it's a big deal. And again, I don't know. None of us are lawyers, or maybe you are a lawyer. If you're in the chat and you're a lawyer and you know about this and you know about regulatory law in particular, let us know. And when I say I'm not a lawyer, so I actually I'm a qualified solicitor, and I worked in litigation for about 10 years in the UK, but that's a past career now. And so technically I'm a lawyer, but I don't know anything about the American legal system. And it is very different to the British legal system. Bo Peep, brilliant thread dork. Got to keep, go and put kids to bed. Good man. Go and tuck your kids in and try not to have nightmares about Vibrant. Tom Brook, less chemicals is possible. If possible, is always the best option to keep as natural as possible, as Mother Nature does. Word. Yeah, I'm with you. That. Got a few people talking. Tom Brook says, "Is that where your hair went, Alex?" Yeah, I was using it as vibrant as it said vibrant. I was like, well, it'll make my hair look vibrant, right? And then this went. So yeah. Yeah, but everything causes cancer in California. Okay, so that's like they're very, very cautious, I guess. So fair enough. And that's quite as I suspected. And here we go. Not the only person. Everything causes cancer unless it's been proven not to. So yeah, they're a cautious bunch, the Californians. Stephen Liversidge has used Vibrant. I did use it because I thought it was good bacteria. Exactly. And that's the point. They tell us it's bacteria, and we've been trained to think bacteria is good and harmless. Read all the stuff you're showing, not happy, but glad to say haven't lost anything. And that's the other thing. You haven't lost anything. So although you're probably cheesed off because you've been misled, whether deliberately or not, no harm, no foul. So who cares? And plenty of people will still keep using it, I bet. We've got, what did the results say Vibrant was made of? Oh, mate, you're a chemist. Go and check out the thread. It's in the description. There was a lot of scientific words there that I didn't understand. Polyxetonium chloride and Busan 77 were the two things that I took away from it as kind of the key ingredients. And they talked about polyquats. I don't know what a polyquat is. I think a polyquat is what. So polyxetonium chloride is a polyquat, as far as I'm aware. But loads of stuff in there, basically not bacteria. Loads of stuff in there that, I don't know, very, very confusing for a mere mortal like myself. You would question every other product they make too. Yeah, I would, actually. They make a couple of other products, not many, but a couple of others. But yeah, I would, because either they're lying about that too, potentially, or maybe they don't do enough due diligence and don't know what's in them if they're outsourcing the manufacturing to other people. I don't know. So yeah, I would. That would be my take on it too. I'm with you, Watty, whatever it is. It says exactly the same on a bottle bought mid-21. Yeah, I suspect it said the same for ever since it's been made. The website to me looked a little bit dated. It looked like it hadn't been updated for a while. They did change, actually. The label did change. It used to say 3, and this was a thread on Reef to Reef. Someone posted a picture, and according to that picture, you'll hear all these caveats throughout the video, by the way, because I want to make it clear that these are not my opinions. I'm just telling you what other people have said. Hashtag don't sue me. The label that this person posted from, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago said 3.5% other, whereas now it says 3.5% RODI. I think I've got that right. So they've updated the label slightly, but haven't really told us anything. They just told us what this other is, and it's just water, basically. Kenneth Allen lost some torches after dosing this. Tank was perfect otherwise. Again, is that was the cause this stuff, whatever it's called, Vibrant? Was it not? Who knows? But yeah, if it was, yeah, feel for you, man. And yeah, so Alfie's Reef is questioning the Vibrant, why you were dosing it if it was perfect, presumably because you had algae, right? Alex Palazzo, I bought some Zoas off you a while ago, I think. About 5-6 years ago, I tried to have the conversation around this product, and then I did not believe it was what it was claimed. I got a huge amount of abuse on Reef to Reef for these suggestions. Well, Alex, good name, by the way. You can be extremely smug. You have been vindicated, and you can now go on and say, I told you so. I informed you thusly. I'm going to post this because I post everything, basically. BRS were good, but not anymore. A lot of people, or no, not a lot of people, a small number of people say that they don't like BRS anymore, and they used to. I still like them. But I think their best videos were, I feel like they've peaked, but they still make some fantastic content. I still love them, and I still watch, particularly the videos with Ryan and Randy. Ryan on his own all the time, and I started watching the Remy stuff again recently, as well as Matthew. I don't watch the Thomas stuff because I'm not so interested in the product side, but I just like all the, even the Thomas is an entertaining guy. I like all of the personalities, all the characters. So I don't agree that BRS is not a good anymore. They're still great, but anyway, I don't want this to become a BRS bashing sesh, by the way. It's not the point of this. By saying that, I'm posting another comment. I take what BRS say with a grain of salt. They are great guys, but they are high-end and push high-end products. Just because it's expensive doesn't mean it's good. So ultimately they are there to sell things. I made a video the other day about redundancy and all this sort of stuff, and all the layers that you need to incorporate. And I think it was aimed at people who really want to look into this and have maybe a lot of money invested. But I did find myself watching it thinking, if you're a beginner, are you going to be watching this thinking, oh God, yeah, I do need that? When realistically, like talking about heaters failing, pumps failing, all that sort of stuff doesn't generally happen in the first couple of years. And most people will only keep the first set of equipment for a couple of years. But anyway, I digress. Sort of like painting a bottle, sort of like a bottle of painting with a broad brush and hoping it stays within the lines. I feel like that's a good point, but I can't quite work it out in my head. I can't quite process it. Maybe it's because I've had too much Red Bull. It works, but a fox face is even better and won't potentially give you cancer. Maybe it will in California. I don't know. Fox faces are awesome. I really like fox faces. They're excellent algae eaters. Got to watch out for them because they can eat corals. But in my experience, they're well worth a crack, and it's a low risk. So yeah, get yourself a fox. If you've got algae, fox face. And apparently they eat bubble algae too. And there's no bubble algae in my main tank. Fox face, urchin, and then a load of other cleanup crew. And you will be fine. Andy Campbell is currently dosing Vibrant treatment for bubble algae. So far, all corals look the same, if not better, as the day I began 2 weeks ago. But I bet you're nervous about it now, aren't you, my friend? But yeah, there you go. Just put more coral in your tank so your algae has less real estate. Yeah, there's a winky face there implying that that's a bit of a joke, but yeah, you're right. Do it. More on Alex, who did the research. I researched the company at the time, and it was the guy in his garage who maintained reef tanks in his local area. Yeah, I think that's right. How could one guy come up with a magic potion when millions are spent in R&D by others? Well, the one guy, I don't think the one guy did. The story I've read from Vibrant was that they teamed up with a bunch of scientists or something like that. They used the word teamed up. So it was scientists, or they say anyway, as far as I'm aware, that they work with scientists who figured out the formula. Maybe these scientists just reverse engineered algae fix and put it in a black bottle with a different name and made it look like that. Who knows? Vibrant didn't really work on my tank, to be honest. I tried this method 6 or 7 months ago, and it has absolutely no effect. Get an urchin. Yeah, man. Robert Vacchiano. Just a point, would you put algae fix in your reef with SPS or pay 3 times as much for what you thought was bacteria? Very good point. Kind of very good point. 3 times as much of what you thought was bad. I think what you're trying to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you're saying is now that we know that algae fix is the same as, well, now it's been suggested, let's be clear, not doing all this nonsense. Now it's been suggested that algae fix and Vibrant are the same. Would you use the cheap algae fix, even though it seems to be the same, but it's not branded for reef tanks? Some people still will take more comfort from the fact that there's a marine expert company selling it, so it's more likely or less likely to cause harm. I think people will still take comfort from that. That's one of the reasons I buy Seachem Kalkwasser, because I take comfort from the fact that a marine company is putting its name to it. It's just that with Vibrant, I'm not sure their name means an awful lot at this moment in time. Reserving judgment, though, as I am, of course. Vibrant has been brilliant for Peter Ashcroft. There you go, one of the many happy people. They have had time to say something and have not. Yeah, and I've been critical of them for not responding in the same way Tropic Marin have. But I do think, having read their response, and it was an acknowledgement to say, leave it with us, we'll get back to you. I would have liked them to engage more, for sure, and to try and approach people who've had issues, particularly this guy who said he lost a load of clams. But I would have liked them to approach more people and say, right, tell us about what issues you've had. Because when Tropic Marin had this, it felt like they wanted to know. They were like, there's clay in this stuff. In theory, it shouldn't cause any harm. But if it has, we want to know, so tell us. Whereas Vibrant haven't been doing that as far as I can see, unless they've been doing it behind the scenes by private message. But conversely, they've had time. It's only 2.5 weeks, and we're kind of in a world now, aren't we, where you expect news instantly, and we've all got short attention spans. And if something goes for a week, you need to have instant responses, and there's rolling news that comes in every 5 seconds and all this sort of stuff. So we're a lot less patient. But actually, 2.5 weeks, I don't know how long the guy on Reef to Reef took to do the experiments in the first place. I suspect it was more than 2.5 weeks. So maybe 2.5 weeks is a little bit too soon still. And this is why I was tempted to wait to see what their response was, but I just thought it was worth getting the word out there. And DA and HCP Chemistry both say that we can't trust the company if that's true. If true, being the key part. But yeah, I completely agree with you. Les's Reef, I used it on my reef, never had a problem. And going back to that again, the point is that you can't trust them. It's not that necessary. Even if Vibrant is still a good product and does the job, I would feel like I can't trust them. And that is a big issue for me. And that's why it's such an important issue. And it's why we've got 300 people watching the video today instead of 130 as we normally have. Sammy D31D, regular contributor. Vibrant will probably just catch a fine and relabel ingredients, and people will still use it because some new upcoming YouTuber with a better fish from Carnival recommended it. Ooh, stinging barb. So maybe they will catch a fine. Maybe they'll relabel the ingredients. If that's all true, then fantastic, and people will still be using it. Yeah, and I'm going to take away the last sarcastic sentence because I feel bad. A lot of people, YouTubers, get a lot of flack, and I think I probably get less flack than some because I think I give balance and I like to think that I'm pretty straight with you guys. But YouTubers get a lot of flack, and it does. I don't know. I think a lot of it is unfair. But anyway, people will keep using it and replace because an upcoming YouTuber says it's good with because people have had success with it in the past. And I think that's probably right. I don't know about fine and all this sort of stuff, but yeah. How could they not know it's not bacteria? Because my theory here is if it was made by a team of scientists, and given what people are saying about the backstory here and how this came about, I'm starting to question that. But if I said to a bunch of scientists, hey guys, I want you to create a product that does this, and I don't know anything about it, and they go away and do it, and they say, here you go, it's fixed, go and test it, see if it works. And I don't know because they start talking to me and they start talking about polymethyl dichlorate and polytox, all this sort of random terms. My eyes are going to glaze over. So they might not have known because it was made by someone else, effectively. The recipe was brought up by someone else. That's just what I'm saying there. Just a question. Would something that is supposed to be 95% bacteria be able to live in a bottle of algicide? No, but the two are mutually exclusive. So it's not. They don't say it's an algaecide, and it turns out that it's not 95% bacteria. If they'd labelled it as an algaecide and saying it had 95% bacteria in it, does an algaecide kill bacteria? Probably not, I'd say. But if it does, then no. Dr. Tim's Waste Away is even better. Microbacter 7 has better results. Oh, I'm still not really into dosing bacteria just for the sake of it, like maintenance doses. It just doesn't feel like it should be necessary. And all the people whose tanks I aspire to copy don't do things like dose bacteria or dose random chemicals. So my opinion, it's not, I just wouldn't bother with that, to be honest. And actually, there was what's the bacteria testing company in the States? It's like an ICP test. You can send off samples that are taken from swabs around your pipes and your glass and all that sort of stuff. Microbiomics, they have taken tests, and I think they were saying on the Reef Dudes live stream that they tested people's tanks who were dosing certain bacteria like Dr. Tim's Microbacter 7, whatever it was, and they found that there weren't elevated levels of those bacteria, which that's the plural, isn't it? Which implies that they don't live. So you put it in your tank, they die. So what's the point? But anyway, just my 2 pence on that. I will say on R2R, the owner representative was active in conversation with members and effectively had a cult following. Is that Randy Holmes Farley? Rev H Tree, I think, is the owner, and I saw him post a couple of times just to say, guys, let's try to wind it back a bit. Don't make any unnecessary allegations. But to his credit, he kept the thread going. On Ultimate Reef, they would slam that thread shut a long time ago. So credit to Reef, they kept it going. I don't know what you're talking about there, Jim. You're talking about one of the comments recently, but some sort of inaccuracy anyway. DJ Arts doesn't in general throw magic potions into his tank. And actually one thing, so someone commented on the Instagram post that I posted about this earlier in the week at Reef Talk. Go and follow me. Someone commented saying, I knew it's a snake oil. It's not a snake oil. A snake oil is something when they're selling you a bottle of water, telling you that it's some kind of magical cure. So it's not a snake oil. But yeah, magic potions, I'm against that. And I'm completely with you. And I just don't see the benefit. Yeah, let's see what the results bring first. Exactly. Let's see what they've got to say. I would imagine that UWC, the makers of Vibrant, are watching this video. Hi guys, how you feeling? Or we'll watch it later. If you have anything to say, let us know in the comments. And I'm not expecting you to express your defense here, but if you do post a response on Reef to Reef, just drop a comment down there if you would, and I'll pin it, and so everybody can see your response and go and see your argument. Imagine if API were better at marketing. Some of their products do what they say on the tin. A Hana nitrate check API save loads. Yeah, so you can use the I can't remember which liquid it is, but you can use one of the API liquids as reagent on one of the Hana checks, one of the Hana checkers. I think API are pretty good at marketing. It's just that because it's mainly a freshwater company, us snobby reef keepers look down our noses and say, oh no, I don't want to use that. But maybe they need to have a second brand and have like a reef keeping brand, just completely different name, like Lexus and Toyota. So us reef keepers are thinking, oh, we've got a Lexus, it's not a Toyota anymore. And by the way, API, if you do that, you owe me a commission because it was my idea. So, you know, why not just use fluconazole for hair algae? I would be more inclined to use fluconazole, but I don't know enough about it. And why not just manually remove the stuff, get control of your phosphates, feed less, and chuck in a few algae-eating fish, or what are they called? Invertebrates. HCB chemistry, we need more results from other scientists. Yeah, more scientists. Anyone who's a proper science nerd out there, get on it. HCB chemistry and me are instructing you to do so. So it would be great, joking aside. Ahmed Marine, I wonder if this has to do something. Whenever I use Vibrant, it's followed by cyanobacteria. If it's stripping out nutrients, which I think people suggest it does, then yeah, maybe. Because if you've got an imbalance, you might get cyanic. Who knows? I've seen a couple of people say that now, even on this thread alone. You saw the thread on Reef to Reef, it looked hostile. Do you know what? The one thing I was thinking with this is, so in the UK, the main forum is Ultimate Reef. And within about 5 seconds of a controversial topic getting posted on Ultimate Reef, and by the way, this is a forum I love and I will always promote it and encourage people to go there. But within about 5 seconds of a controversial topic, things tend to turn nasty and people start having a pop at each other, and then the thread gets stopped. On Reef to Reef, maybe it's a cultural thing, maybe it's just the way Americans do things. You guys seem to be a lot more respectful and polite and a lot more friendly. And even that was a pretty spicy subject. There wasn't really any nastiness. I thought it was a really nice thread, actually. Everybody was respectful. Everybody was polite. I really like that. Anyway, Jim Graham, Telegram, what have you got for us? What's unfortunate was that BRS investigates Vibrant tanks didn't have corals. Yeah, so that's true. They someone else mentioned this. They just put a load of algae in a tank or whatever, so you couldn't tell. And that's not because they were trying to mislead us. It's because that's the way they did a test, I guess. But yeah, you've had negative results with Vibrant. There we go. So not the only one. And in fact, the negative results you are just commenting, said it killed corals in my tanks, but many have better luck. And I love that balance, Jim. And I'm all about that balance. It killed. So you're saying I had a bad experience, but other people have had good luck. And that's the thing. I don't like it when people come out and just say, I've had bad luck with this product, therefore it's rubbish. I love the balance. I'm all about that. Jesus Carantha used it previously and noticed a difference in water clarity after a day. I was always scared though because I'd heard horror stories. And that's the thing. There are enough horror stories out there for any product to put you off. ChemiClean, when I use that to get rid of cyanobacteria after spending months trying to fix it naturally, loads of people say they had all sorts of problems with corals. It killed various animals, all that sort of stuff. I tried it, not fortunately, at a time when I didn't have many corals in my tank. I wouldn't do it now because my tank is ram-packed full of corals. In fact, that's one point. So people always say there will be many people, we've got 300 people watching. There'll be many of you who don't know who I am, new to the channel, don't know if you can listen to the things I'm saying. So I'm going to show you a picture of my tank. In fact, what I'm going to do, I can't find a picture of my tank, irritatingly. So I'm just going to show you a picture of some of my corals, which is the next best thing. So I have a tank full of Aquapora corals, mainly Aquapora, strawberry shortcake, whatever that is. That is an Aquapora Danae, tenuis, Pikachu, Simon Tozer, some random one from Eurocorals, another random one from Eurocorals, slightly shady looking tenuis, PC Rainbow, Sunset Millie, another Millie. A lot of these are frags, to be fair, because I'm taking photos of the frags at the moment. I do have many colonies, I promise. But anyway, yeah, the point I'm trying to make is that some of you won't know me. I'd make loads of videos about my tanks, so you can go and check me out, and you can decide whether or not I know what I'm talking about. And you'll probably base that on some of the things I'm saying here as well. More user experiences. Broke Reef Man 45. Yeah, I used it 1 bottle and removed turf algae with no loss of any coral or fish. And I mean, that's why people love it, because algae is a pain in the cock. And so if you can get rid of it easily, why not? Danielle, new to reefing, so good to know. And that is why I'm making this video. People need to know. And all right, it's only allegations at the moment. We don't know, but this needs to be publicized and it needs to be shared. And unless you're on Reef to Reef, you probably don't know about it. I'd seen a few people talking about it on various videos and on Instagram, but I didn't really understand what it was. And someone last week on my live stream, I do a live stream every week, Sunday, 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. EST. I do EST? Eastern time, yeah. I did. So on my live stream last week, someone said, are you going to do a video about Vibrant? And I said, don't really know anything about it. Probably not. I then went and looked into it because it piqued my interest, and whoa, yeah, felt it was worth doing. So there we go. So I'm glad it's raising awareness of the allegations. They're just allegations at the moment. Innocent until proven guilty and all that. DA has used it with success to battle bubble algae. However, I then had to deal with cyano and dinos. Nasty. So that's a lot of people saying that then. But one of the things with products like this, and whether it's carbon dosing or anything that pulls out nutrients from your tank, that sort of thing, and I'm not criticizing UDA, that sort of thing is probably down to user error, understandable user error, but nonetheless user error, because it will do that if you use it wrong. And the reason I'm saying that, because I've done the same. I used Tropic Marin carbon dosing products a couple of years ago. I used them incorrectly. I didn't monitor my nutrients properly. It stripped out everything because I was dosing too much of the stuff, and I got dinoflagellates. And that was my fault because I wasn't using it properly. But it's one of the things that you're not likely to be aware of necessarily, and especially if you're new to the hobby, you're not necessarily aware of risks. But anyway, yeah. SPS corals died in our tank during and after dosing Vibrant. My sympathies for you. And that's it. This is what I go back to about it's an algicide, or supposedly it's an algicide. Corals have algae in their cells. It's what they use to eat light, for want of a better word. So yeah, Algae Warrior, appropriately named. I lost Favia when it was the only thing I changed in the tank. So started dosing Vibrant, I presume you mean it was the only thing. Yeah. I had a really bad reaction, almost killed my frog spawn. So on this thread, on this video, then I reckon we've probably got a 50% split of people who've had good experiences and bad, maybe 70-30 in favor of people who've had good experiences, but that doesn't mean squat. Frankly, it's a straw poll, it's random, and you're better off getting a better idea of on forums where you'll see a much bigger range of people who've used it. Cotty's Reef, I used it for bubble algae, had no negative effects, only positive. It got rid of the bubble algae. That's what you want to know. Sonny Gould is joining from the Czech Republic. Good evening, boys and girls. Hello, Sonny. Welcome along. Regis Oppenheimer, I lost corals twice using Vibrant. I would guess you wouldn't be using it again. Nikolai Morel, I've used one bottle of it. Didn't notice any issues, but didn't solve my algae problem either. Yeah. Again, that might be down to user error. No offense, but it might be down to user error. And the same for people who said that earlier. Equally, maybe it's not. I don't know. But that feels like with a product like this, especially now we know what's in it, it feels like if it's not doing what it should be doing, maybe it's not being used correctly. Maybe it's not being used enough. I don't know. Anyway, HCB Chemistry, they need to change the ingredients, but it's a negative look to their brand. The one thing I would say at this point in time is when I went on their website earlier today, I took a load of screenshots from Reef to Reef that were photos of the bottle that showed ingredients and all this sort of thing, because I thought if I go on their website, they're going to have taken all this stuff down, or they'll have put a warning up or a notice or something like that. There was nothing. No, as far as I could see, no changes to their website. And I thought that was I think there should have been some kind of thing on the first page to say, oh, by the way, there are allegations about this. You should be aware of it. We're looking into it. So yeah, I wouldn't say they need to change now because they don't know and they're looking into it. So don't go crazy. I wouldn't expect Vibrant to go crazy and change everything, but I might expect them to put some kind of comment on their own website. Maybe I missed it. If I did and you've seen it, tell me again, fact check me. I'm all up for being fact checked. Kevin Powell used it once, cleared up my bubble algae as a last ditch effort. So that's the other thing. This sort of thing can often be used as a last ditch solution because you've tried everything else, it hasn't worked. And me saying, oh yeah, just sort your nutrients out and get an algae eating fish. Loads of people have tried that, haven't got anywhere with it. You get so frustrated that you use it. So yeah, probably understandable. And I hope I'm not being patronizing when I say you shouldn't be using this stuff. You should be dealing with a problem. That's not my intentions. But anyway, Red Scorp. I have seen tanks which are wonderful and use regular Vibrant products, but all have regular cyano outbreak. And in ULN, ultra low nutrients, dinos are regular. Yeah, dinos are no joke, and cyano is not easy to get rid of. So for sure, you want to be careful with that sort of thing. And that's why it's a good thing to do your research, because if you do your research, you'll see that people have these problems, and it might make you think, do I want to take the risk? It's just that it looks like you can't do your research based on what it says on the bottle, which is pretty disappointing. Les says, all these chemicals are a crazy option. What's wrong with a huge rock and some Cheeto and water changes? Well, yeah, and that's basically what I'm saying. But as I said a second ago, that doesn't necessarily work for everybody. Sonny Gould has used Vibrant tiny amounts, like less than 50%, and very rarely ... I feel like I want to know if you've had any problems, but I'm guessing you have not. Jim Graham is in the house. To add to the fun, I streaked it on TSA plates. Yeah, I saw that, and bacteria grew. The sample could have been contaminated, so I now have inappropriate Reefers bottled to test. Could that be? I was going to say, could it be bacteria eating the vinegar and bacteria coming from the atmosphere or whatever? But if there's no vinegar in it, then no. Interesting. I mean, that's you're saying it's not a scientific test and all that sort of stuff, but interesting to know. I don't know what that means, but I feel like it's interesting. There is algae in coral tissue, zooxanthellae. If you've ever heard the phrase, for those of you who don't know, zooxanthellae, which is Zooxanthalae, I think, it is the symbiotic algae that is in the tissues of corals that corals use to convert light energy into yummy, yummy food. So correct. And that's why it's an issue for those of you who are just joining. Nick Garcia. I used it after I watched BRS videos that did an experiment on it, but there were no coral testing tank, which is a point someone else made earlier. Yeah. I'd be really interested to know why they did that, actually, because I don't know. I'm not casting shade on them. I think that generally they don't try to. They set up these experiment tanks, so it's not like, why would you test it on a normal tank? I don't know. It feels better, more controlled, I think, to do it on that. So I think that's probably why they did it. Canadian Reef Master is back. I examined NMR. Yeah, that was another thing that. What does NMR stand for? I can't remember. It was one of these sciencey words that I didn't understand. It is in fact polyxetonium chloride, which is interesting. I would like to see a few more samples sent to be tested. Now, so that's one thing, actually. So a few people have said you'd like to see more tests of this, and I completely agree. The only thing I would say is that these experiments that were done look pretty thorough. And again, if Randy Holmes Farley is satisfied, I'm satisfied. But absolutely, more tests would be a good thing, and not just from the makers of Vibrant. Because if Vibrant come out and say, no, we've tested it, turns out it is bacteria, I don't know if I'd necessarily believe it. So the more, the better. I really imagine if they come out and say, do you know what? You're right. It is just API algae fix. Whoa. Norfolk Reefer is great for bubble algae. I think new reefers use it without testing water. It's not a solution for high nutrients. There you go. Maybe some people use it though. Andy, not surprised by this at all. The reefing hobby is full of snake oil products. It's not I don't think it's not a snake oil, I don't think. But I know what you're saying. Anything that actually works like Vibrant is likely to be some sort of controlled substance. Controlled substance makes it sound like a drug. But yeah, pesticide, algicide, that sort of thing. So be skeptical. If something sounds too good to be true, you put this in your tank, it gets rid of all your algae and it makes your water look clear. It probably is too good. Mr. DKH, the alkalinity fan. I used it a year ago and it stripped my water and all my FPS died. Then got dinos. The battle lasted 8 months and it crashed my tank. Man, dinos are no joke at all and not an awful lot of fun, are they? And I'm just looking off because I'm trying to find a video of my photo of my tank because I'm really keen to show people who don't know anything about me, but I can't see him anyway. Sonny Gould has had no issues with it. Hang on, I'll read the bigger one. I've had no issues with it, but with everything, I always use much less of something new. Sage, wise words, I would say. Scott Morrison says one come on to that in a sec. I've used it. It is good stuff if dosed correctly. Going back to what I said about user error. I overdosed it due to bad eyesight, difficult to read after loss of some eyesight after brain surgery. Wow. Sorry to hear that. And turn the rock work red. Cool. Well, not cool, but okay, interesting to know. But again, user error and accidental user error. Amir. I watched the original BRS video on it. They claimed it was the bacteria that was doing the job. We now know that this is not the truth. This is the main issue. Lots of ways to get algae. Yeah, they claimed it was that because that's what they were told by the makers of Vibrant. Naughty, naughty. Chris Lawton. I used it over a 1 month period for GHA outbreak. Didn't see any issues, but the tank was still immature. Didn't have many corals in at that time. Assumed coral losses because of immaturity. Might well be, to be fair. There are any number of things that can kill coral. And was it that your use of Vibrant? Who knows? I've used Vibrant a few times and never had any problems. Another successful story. Algae Warrior, if it's 95% bacteria and 3.4% RODI, wouldn't it have a milkshake consistency? Yes, I believe that was one of the things that was discussed. And basically, it's not possible that it's 95% bacteria, is what came of it. And if that's the case, I'm surprised someone didn't think of that earlier, because if you see a bottle, if you know about this sort of stuff, you see a bottle that says 95% bacteria, 3.5% water, don't you think, hang on, that's not possible? So it's surprising that this didn't come out earlier, to be fair, because it's been around for since at least 2016, which is the post from Reef to Reef. So why hasn't this come out? Well, actually, do you know what? The reason it hasn't is because people have been talking about it and they've been batted away and called crazy until this Taricha guy, Garincha, whatever his name was, Taricha, who posted the thread in the first place, got hold of it. That was one thing, actually. The person who did the Reef to Reef thread, unlikely that you're going to comment here, but I'm on Reef to Reef, so send me a private message, the Reef Dork I am. I'd be really interested to know what your motivations for this were, because the first thing I thought was, why have you done this? Is it just because it's out of the goodness of your own heart and you had suspicions that there was something amiss here and you wanted to reveal it? I did wonder what the intentions were. I'm not saying that he's a competitor and he's doing something underhand, and ultimately, if what he says is true, who cares what his intentions were? But I did just wonder what his intentions were. Anyway, Bill Clark. But I'm cynical and I'm skeptical. And as I've said before, I don't trust anyone as a general rule. Bill Clark, I've been using Vibrant on and off for the last 12 plus months. When algae starts to raise their ugly heads, I start using it again. For what has been suggested, this may be why I can't keep snails long. Well, snails are not mollusks, are they? They're gastropods, I think. So I don't think it harms snails, but maybe it does, especially if you're using too much. And this is the thing. So it's quite a low concentration. I think it was like 4.5 or 5.5% polyxetonium chloride, which is low concentration. And it's used as polyxetonium chloride, I think I'm right in saying, is used as swimming pool cleaner. But when it's used in swimming pools, it's like 30% concentration or something. So it is low concentration stuff. Johan, who has a Golf R32, which is an awesome car, used Vibrant for months, ended up with huge dinoflagellates outbreak. Yeah. Also seen a story from a very experienced reaver who used it without having a skimmer, and it kills off most of the fish pretty fast, which would imply maybe there's bacteria and they've sucked all the oxygen out of the water. Who knows? Tech HR, putting 95% bacteria on the bottle and it has 0%. Allegedly, yeah. Not cool. And again, it's drilled into us to say, oh, bacteria is good. It's all harmless. It's all natural and all that sort of stuff. And that's why it's worse that if all this is true, that's what they've done, because they've tried to present it, tried to hold it out as something that's good and natural and organic and things that we look for, when the reality is it's an algicide, which to me as a non-scientist, I think algicide, pesticide, don't want it in my tank. So not cool. Norfolk Reefer. I used to use it, but now seek other ways to solve issues, as I think it masks the problem, which is exactly what I'm going on about earlier on. We're coming towards the end of the comment, so if you've got other things you want to say, keep going. Tell me now. Sorry. I am so glad I talked to my girlfriend from using Vibrant. Out of using Vibrant. I wanted her to go a more natural and roughly with urchins. Just use good cleanup crew. Just carbon and UV sterilizer helps too. Cool. Leon El Rayo. It causes dinos. Killed all my fish and 70% of my corals in 4 to 5 hours. That's got to be oxygen related then. If that's all your... So this is the thing. And again, I'm not besmirching your good name and I'm not saying you're wrong. But if I see someone that says this killed all your fish and all your coral and 70% of your corals in 5 hours, is that definitely that stuff? Were you pouring in far too much? Was there something else going on? I don't know. That just sounds quite an extreme reaction. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but it's like, oh, that just doesn't pass the eyebrow test. Let's put it that way. But again, I don't mean to be telling you you're wrong. You know a lot more about your tech than I do. You know what was going on. I'm just mentioning it. I have a long-standing. Bill Clark has a long-standing issue with some sort of cyano, although I have high nitrates. Yeah, cyano's pain in the backside to get rid of. Watty25 again, different results because everyone's reef tank's chemistry varies. Oh, we have a comment on polyxetonium chloride. It is also solar swimming pool clarifier. There you go, as per safety sheets along. Yeah, you're exactly right. But I think it's high concentration, as I said. Simon Veldhaus. I generally don't dose stuff other than basic ABC and the colours stuff from Red Sea every now and then. Generally fixes most problems. And ABC, I presume you mean two-pot dosing, effectively, Tropic Marine, maybe Balling Classic. And colours from Red Sea, they are natural chemicals, trace elements, that sort of thing. So that is the right way to go. The natural route, says my man, the Herm 14, exactly right. A comment on Continuum. I've heard the Aussies use Continuum Gen M and now Cam from Gallery Aquatica has a video out with Continuum Clean Equation M for bubble algae. I would rather use something bacterial like Gen M. Are you sure it's bacterial? Because people thought Vibrant was bacteria. I've just let my chair down a little bit accidentally. I'd rather use something natural than an algicide for sure. I still just don't think that's the answer. But anyway. Jason Douglas has dosed Vibrant on a regular basis for nearly a year, and it works great. So, Jason, now you know what you know, as in you've heard these allegations. Will you still keep using it? Let us know. How could they not know what was in their own product? For the reasons I've mentioned, they say on their website that it was a group of scientists they team up with who made it, so maybe they didn't. Anton Tar, Reef Dog, Vibrant was marketed as a bacteria that eats algae. Exactly, 100%. I wonder if there actually is a bacteria that eats algae. Yeah, I did think that was a bit strange, to be honest. But then the way they talked about it was they said it's complicated how it works because it's not just like you get bacteria, it eats the algae. There were all these kind of reactions and things. Maybe it was all smoke and mirrors, I don't know. But yeah, it does sound weird. Vibrant gives you diatoms and cyano when I used too much. Diatom's not necessarily a terrible thing, but cyano is a pain in the backside. Nick is back. I'd like to know what I'd like to know that too. Even if, yeah, we've talked about it. What else do they sell? I'll tell you what. Let's bring up their website again and let's see what else they sell. UWC Vibrant. Here we go. Product line. So let me show you this website then. What else do they sell? They sell Vibrant Aquarium Cleaner, as we know, Chroma Coral Plus, which is coral color and growth booster, presumably trace elements, I would guess. Refined Nitrate Plus and Balance restores NO3 PO4 balance. So there's some kind of sodium nitrate or potassium nitrate and sodium phosphate, potassium phosphate, whatever, something like that. Dynamic Reef Aquarium Core Builder, the building blocks for your reef. What the hell does that mean? Who knows? What? That just sounds, I don't know. So they sell a few products anyway. And yeah, trace elements maybe. I don't like that. They sound a bit vague. It says, what was it? It said Chroma Coral Plus Coral Color and Growth Booster. That's really, I don't like that. I would rather that say trace elements, it grows your corals and boosts your color. Anyway, that's what else they use. They sell. Night Shift Reefs have been using it for the past few months. Lost 2 fish I've had over 3 years. Not sure if it's related. All parameters stable. Again, who knows? But hope you do not believe that they did not know. Highly unlikely. I'm saying I don't know. I'm open to persuasion either way, but I don't think you can say at this stage it's highly unlikely. I think it might well be that they didn't know. But like I say, if that's the case and they didn't know, I still don't let them off on that, because I feel like if it's the case and they didn't know what was in it, they should have known what's in it. Otherwise, you're just being too blasé about it and you're selling something you don't know. Reef Talk loves a scandal. I do like a bit of gossip and a bit of drama. But I just want to give my thoughts on it. And I felt that there was no video. So now the first half hour of this video tells you in microcosm what this problem is. So you can click on watch for half an hour, and you don't have to read a 35-page thread and try to understand all the science. So that's why I'm doing this. KO.com used a lower than recommended dose to remove some stubborn hair algae on a tank upgrade. Result was a tank crash. Full of snotty dinos. Gutted. Okay, I'm going to try to catch up a little bit. Yeah. Scandal, he doesn't wear them. Scandal? Is that like a perfume or something? Isn't there a perfume called Scandal? I don't know. Robert Vacchiano, I'm going to wind back to this one. You've been in the saltwater hobby 50 years. I thought we were over all the products making false claims to sell products. Yeah, that's life, I'm afraid. So no. Oh my God, right. Sorry, I've just found a really a user that I'm just trying to block because that's disgraceful. Get out. You know you are. I don't want you anywhere near my channel. I don't know if you're a bot or whatever, but I'm not interested in that. Get out. Sorry. Really pissed me off. Anyway, moving back to fish and corals and stuff. Yeah, wow, gross. Not the place, man. Yeah, totally. Just get out. Oh, cretin. I can't believe people like that would post something like that in public. Just started my reef tank yesterday. Thank you for all the videos. You're welcome, Austin Tinon. What's the drama about Vibrant? What did I miss? Go back and watch the first half an hour of this, but they've been doing naughty things. Yeah, thank you. Well done, GW. Cheers for that. You can't find I can find the thread link, but where's the article? In the description. I'm almost certain I put it in the description. And for anyone who's joined and you're looking for the super chat function, I've turned it off. And in the description as well is a charity that gives money to or help support families displaced by the war in Ukraine. So if you want to donate to them, then do so. But the article is below that link. Yeah. I'm really sorry. I'm just catching up with all the comments about this guy. I need to get a mod, yeah, because oh my God, there's another one, for Christ's sake. Do you know what? I'm gonna end this stream because there's a couple of people making comments and I'm behind. I don't want other people to be saying that. So I think I'm scanning through and I think we're okay actually. I'm a good 10 minutes behind there actually. So before I do end it, I just want to scan through and make sure there's nothing else in here that is completely inappropriate. So forgive me while I just stare at my screen for a second. I can't believe that. And I can't believe I'm so far behind as well. Do you know what? I'm way behind. I'm so far behind here. I've had so many comments here. So I'm sorry I've not caught up. I'm going to end the stream because I found comments that, yeah. Right, I'm now caught up. But I found comments here that I don't want anything to do with. So I'm going to end the stream. But look, I hope you found that useful. I hope you found it really interesting. And I hope that we hear more from UWC in the coming weeks. I hope more people talk about this as well. There's a channel called The Reefing Report with Terence from formerly of Neptune and Mr. Saltwater Tank. They're doing a video later tonight. I suspect they might well talk about this. Yeah, no, sorry, I was too late though. They might well talk about this. So yeah, go and check that out. And I hope more people talk about it. And will I come back and do a video when Vibrant release their update? Maybe. I'll have a think about it. I'll see what comes out. Oh, by the way, if anybody would like to be a mod and prevent that sort of rubbish going on, please let me know. If you're a regular viewer and you want to be a mod, give me a shout. Put it in the comments, not in the chat, and we'll hook you up. Thank you all for coming in, guys, and I will catch you on Friday at 4 p.m. UK time for my normal video, and the following Sunday at 8 p.m. every week UK time for the next live stream. See you later. Bye, guys.